Welcome to the POG Show. I'm your host, Christine Martindale, Public Information Officer for the City of Port Orange, a city in Central Florida that is unique by choice, not by chance. I will be bringing you powerful interviews and on-the-go info to gain a better understanding of the various services and functions our city provides. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, to episode 22 of the POG Show. Today I have with me in the podcast studio Mick Neals, the city's solid waste manager, and my sound engineer for the POG Show podcast. He's doing a little double duty today. So now you get to know the guy behind the scenes of the POG Show. Hi, Mick. Thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Christine.
Oh, no problem. And as we record this episode, today is June 1st. I cannot believe it. We are already in June. It's crazy how fast this year has flown by. And you know what that means? It's the official start of hurricane season. Can't believe it. I know, right? And we'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, I appreciate your time. And today we're going to talk about everything about solid waste and recycling and everything else. But before we dive into this topic, first tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, how long you've been with the city, what you do for the city, and so forth.
Well, I was actually born up north. I'm a transplant. My family moved here when I was 10. I grew up in the Altamont Springs area, met my wife and moved to South Orlando, and then we moved up to North Carolina, and we were there almost 15 years. And because of 9/11 and the economy and everything, we decided to move back. And when we made that decision, I told my wife if we were moving back to Florida, I was not living in Orlando, that we were going to live near the beach. So after looking around and searching for the place to live, we found Port Orange, and we really loved it. So we moved here. We've been here since 2009. And just love it. I love Port Orange. It's such a great little town, city, I guess. And my background as far as solid waste, I actually had no experience in solid waste until I took this position with the city 6 years ago. I actually started in the purchasing department because of my contract administration experience. Formerly worked at Embry-Riddle. And a couple large companies up in North Carolina doing contract administration. And I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot about garbage and recycling over the past 6 years that as a regular citizen, things you just don't think about, things that you don't know, and things that are just important for the guys that are picking up your garbage and your recycling.
Yeah, it's been some, I know we've had some recent changes as of late, and I know everyone, had gotten a mailer, right, in their mailbox and all. So tell us about maybe that change that occurred, was about a month ago.
So last year in February, Waste Pro's contract was up coming this November that just passed. So last February, we went out to bid. And we had a couple companies submit their bids, and council reviewed the bids. We reviewed the bids, made our recommendations, and by pricing and because of experience and everything else, we decided to stay with Waste Pro. So in their new contract, there were some changes made. One of the biggest ones would be the recycling. We used to have one of your garbage collection days be your recycling day. In the city, your garbage is either collected on Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday, which leaves Wednesday open for yard waste, which is, cans and bags, small hand piles, stuff like that. And we had a day for the claw truck to come around and pick up large piles of yard waste, which we changed probably about 3.5 years ago. And in Waste Pro's bid, they looked at the model that the large yard waste was being picked up and saw that was working really well by splitting the city into 5 zones and having the trucks in one specific area. Instead of darting back and forth across the city to pick up yard waste, they were able to concentrate on one area. So the decision was made in order to keep their price lower. They were able to go down from 5 routes down to 3 routes by moving the recycle days to the same zones as we were using for the large yard waste pickup. So that was the main reason behind the change in the recycling schedule.
Mm-hmm. I know my day changed, which
mine too.
No big deal.
Yeah.
We got recycling now on a Monday, and my garbage is on a Tuesday. But they did pick up on Monday, which was Memorial Day this past Monday. So, I know they hardly have a day off, right?
They do. Waste Pro they pick up every day except for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year. And any changes to the schedule, of course, you post on social media. And it's also available on the city website at www.port-orange.org. You click on Government, go to Public Works, and there is a Solid Waste tab. And everything you need to know about garbage collection and recycling is there. Also construction and demolition debris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always hear from you if there's any kind of change. We make sure we get that out there on our social media platforms too. So, great information. So we talk about shift to recycling for just a bit. So what percentage is the city recycling these days?
Well, it's hard to get an actual count of the number of residents that are recycling because we don't go around and just count, okay, this person has it out, this person doesn't. So what we do is we take the overall tonnage of solid waste, and solid waste includes your regular household garbage. It includes yard waste. It includes construction and demolition debris. And it also includes commercial garbage, which is dumpsters at your local businesses. And based on tonnage, right now, we're really, really lacking in the recycling field. We're only at about 3.4% of our tonnage for recycling.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to get a gauge of that. And, we did eliminate glass. I know we did that back in October of 2019. And that was because, although glass is highly recycled, it was actually more cost effective for them to create new glass than to recycle it.
Correct.
I know that was, the city, joined a growing trend to eliminate glass from recycle bins. Currently, right, we've talked about this before, there is no aftermarket for recycling. So instead of recycling it, a recycler was sending it to the dump. So instead of sending it to the recycler to send it to the dump, the city has saved quite a bit of money by sending it to the dump directly. So
exactly,
that's the reason behind all of that.
The recycling processor that we use, the city has been using for about 18 years. And they had not raised their prices in 18 years. And when they came to us when the contract was up and let us know that they were raising their prices, it went up from $35 a ton to $80 a ton. And as trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, it didn't make sense for us to pay the recycling company to continue to take the glass to the landfill at $80 a ton when we could just get the residents to put it in their garbage and we would only pay $34 a ton.
Makes a lot of sense.
We're saving about $35,000 to $40,000 a year on the recycling side just by taking glass out of the recycling bins.
Very good explanation, because I know there were a lot of questions.
Yeah,
there were, especially our social media. I know you and I did, we did put out a video and all of that, but I know other cities have done the same too. So
and we've also looked at, other alternatives. People have asked, well, why don't you find another alternative? The closest glass recycling plant in Florida is in Sarasota, and the logistics are just unreasonable. I mean, especially now, look at now with the way fuel and gas prices are, it just wouldn't make sense for us to truck the glass all the way down to Sarasota. We would end up paying them to recycle the glass instead of being able to get a rebate on it, which is one of the benefits of recycling, is that you do get a little bit of a rebate, which hopefully you may recoup enough to pay the bill of the recycling processing.
No, very good. Good explanation on all of that, and it takes a podcast, right, to explain it. We could do it on social media, but just to reiterate it again. So, great. So, switching gears just a minute. So, is there a certain way that recycling has to be separated?
Absolutely. The city does what we call dual curbside sort. And what that means is that your paper products have to be separate from everything else, from your plastics, your aluminum, your tin cans. And the city allows each resident to have up to 3 recycle bins. So if you drink a lot of bottled water, you could have 2 bins with your plastic and aluminum and tin in it. And then your third bin would be for your paper, which is junk mail, boxes, magazines, phone books, stuff like that. And with it being separated, the guys that are picking it up, they service probably 1,600 houses each route.
Wow.
So they really don't have time to sort it when they get to your house. So the purpose of sorting it is so that the guys can get it done quicker. They can finish their routes quicker. And then when it gets to the processor, it is separated already for them to go ahead and process and get out to the aftermarket.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I know we have this on our website too, but, we know what's not allowed. We talk about pizza boxes, right?
Right.
No styrofoam or plastic bags are allowed. We talk about grocery bags can be recycled at most grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
Non-recyclable materials will be left in your bin to let them know that item is not recycled.
Correct. And there should be a green door hanger type tag left in there with what the reason was that the items were left checked off on that green tag.
So what about things that have the recycle symbol that have been left behind? For example, a plastic picnic table that has recycle symbol on it. How come that wasn't taken, for example?
Well, we're kind of restricted with what we can take based on what our processor will process. And our processor has given us a list of things that they will take. And unfortunately, a lot of people look at something and see a recycle symbol on it and say, well, I know it's recyclable. How come I can't put it in my bin? If our processor doesn't have an aftermarket for it or a way to process it, then it ends up in the landfill. And again, there's your $80 a ton versus $35 a ton.
Now, do you take, I know they take cardboard. Are there rules in terms of recycling cardboard?
There are, and they just changed with this new change as well. It used to be that cardboard had to be cut down to 2 foot by 2 foot, and that was because of the type of trucks that they had. They were trucks with little bins on the side, and they would dump the stuff into the bins, and then once those bins filled up, it would lift up and then dump into the body of the truck. And the new trucks now have a bigger opening in the back of the truck, so you can actually cut your cardboard down to 5 foot by 5 foot, but they do ask that all boxes be broken down, and you can put it in your recycle bin or you can stack it up underneath your recycle bin, but please don't tie it together, in a bundle, because the guys are just going to have to break the string and throw it into the truck at that time.
Gotcha. So they can be in or under the bins.
Uh-huh.
Got it. And you had just made a mention, a question. So it looks like the garbage truck has been picking up my recycle, but how do I know the recycle truck is picking it up?
That's a very good question. The new contract allowed Waste Pro to provide us with a brand new fleet of trucks, and the new recycle trucks look exactly like the garbage trucks. On the side of each of the recycle trucks should be a giant recycle symbol. So that's one thing to look for if you're concerned that the garbage men are picking up your recycling. Also, when the truck pulls away, you can look at the back, and it's actually split in two. On one side is where they put the paper and cardboard and magazines and such, and then on the other side is where they put the plastics and the tin and the aluminum.
And I think I took a picture. I think you sent me a picture that
I
posted on
uh-huh.
our social media page. It's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
So where do we need to keep all garbage cans and recycle bins so we know they are being picked up?
The city ordinance states that it should not be in the right of way it should not be in the street. And that's very important because you don't want to block traffic. You don't want to block emergency vehicles being able to get down your street. And, you think it's only a garbage can. It's only 2 foot wide. But if you and your neighbor both have your cans out and somebody happens to park on the side of the road, it's very hard for cars to get through, very hard for the emergency vehicles to get through. So we ask that you either put it on the skirt of your driveway or in the grass area between your sidewalk and the street, anywhere in the right of way, just not in the street.
You talked about, right of ways and things. We are June 1st as we record this episode, which is the official start. I can't believe hurricane season.
Cross your fingers.
Right? Oh, I am. So back in April of 2021, the city passed an ordinance, City Ordinance 2671, relating to garbage, trash, and debris in the right of way during declared emergencies. The premise behind this ordinance is to provide for the safety of our public by helping to prevent persons from discarding garbage or debris in front of their property during a declared emergency, such as a hurricane, and becoming hazardous to residents, property, and utilities. So the first-time offense, the fine is $250.
Correct.
Right? And so I'm going to put a little plug because we're in June 1st. So when preparing for a storm, this is not, if a storm is brewing, this is the time right now to be cleaning and cutting tree trims. Don't wait until a storm is 2 days away,
right.
To be trimming trees or cleaning out garages. This is the time right now. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, just to give you an example, back in Matthew, I was actually helping man the phones because we were so busy, people calling and saying, I've got a large pile, I just cleaned my garage out so I could put my car in the garage. And we were the day before the hurricane, actually even up to 3-4 days before the hurricane. And I put them on the list and I told them, we'll do our best to get you picked up. But just to give you an example, you're 375th on the list. So we do ask people, instead of waiting until a storm is brewing, now, like you said, is the time. Go ahead and get those trees trimmed if you're worried about dead branches hanging. And, if you want to get your garage cleaned out, start now. And let's not wait for a storm, because the chances are that there's going to be so many calls that we won't be able to pick it up. And what ends up happening is that it's out on the curb during a storm, and those things very easily get blown around and could cause damage to other folks' homes or cars.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, of course, follow your schedule on when your debris pickup day is.
Correct.
So keeping that in mind, as I go along with the June 1st official day of the hurricane season, from May 28th up until June 10th, there is a disaster preparedness sales tax holiday going on. On our social media page, Port Orange City Hall, is a whole list of things where you can get things sales tax, a tax-free holiday.
Right.
So take advantage. This is the time to take advantage of all of this.
And for pet owners, I was real surprised as a pet owner. We love our collie. It's surprising how many things on there are geared towards pets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so, again, it's on our social media pages. But, of course, don't wait for that. Don't wait till
Right.
June 9th.
Yeah,
This is the time
now.
you have.
Yeah.
They gave you plenty of time to take advantage of this time. And so, I think, we may be getting some tropical some rains later this week. So again, this is like a good time. And of course, our Alert Port Orange system. This is the time for notifications to sign
up
up.
for it if you're not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been plugging that for some time. It's just so important to be in the know, for sure.
Absolutely.
So tell our listeners where they can pick up a recycling bin.
Recycle bins are available from 8 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon at the Public Works Building, and that's at 407 Virginia Avenue. Waste Pro actually has a liaison in our building. She has her own office, and there are signs that will direct you where to park, which is in front of the Public Works Building, and arrows and signs pointing you around to the side of the building where her door is. You don't need your firstborn child, the deed to your house, title to your car. All we need is your address and your name, And again, you're allowed up to 3 bins per household.
Up to 3. That was my next question. Up to 3. That's great. So, I know we covered a lot here. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that we didn't cover about anything, solid waste, recycling, anything that you'd like to share?
Just a few house cleaning things. Want to remind people that residents are allowed up to 3 trash cans for your solid waste, and we ask that you please do not. It's actually a city ordinance. They do not exceed 50 pounds. The guys that pick up the garbage actually do lift every can up and put it in the truck. And all day long of picking up 50, 70-pound cans can really wear on them. And just like every other business, Waste Pro is having a hard enough time right now keeping people. So we don't want to make their job any harder than what it is.
Sure.
We also, it's a city ordinance that all the garbage should be in a bag inside your can. People will call and say that they had garbage scattered all over their street when the guys came and collected their garbage. And we pull video. There are video cameras all around every truck, so we can look and see what happened. And this way, if the guys need to be spoken to or reprimanded, we have video proof of what they did wrong or what they didn't do wrong. And there are times where we see garbage cans with no garbage bags in them that people just throw their garbage into the can. And again, these guys are just picking them up and throwing them into the back of the truck. So without your garbage being in a bag, there is more chance of some debris falling out.
Oh, all great points for sure. So, no, Mick, I really appreciate you taking the time.
One other thing, I'm sorry.
No, of course, no worries.
If you do have a large pile of yard waste, say you trim a tree or you trim a bunch of your hedges, and it's more than a couple handfuls that the guys can pick up on Wednesday, we do ask that you call the customer service line, which is 386-506-5575. And the young lady will be glad to take your information and pass it along to Waste Pro to make sure you get on the schedule for a pickup. We also ask the same if you're getting rid of furniture or getting rid of an old appliance. And when getting rid of old appliances, please remove refrigerator doors, remove freezer doors, anything that a small child could climb into and the door shut behind them and somehow the thing falls over and they're trapped inside. We want to eliminate a tragedy, so please remove the doors. I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's a lot, and all great points for sure. And we'll put that phone number again in the show notes and all of that. So, no, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And, it's been a pleasure. Got to speak to you. You're not the man
on the other
behind.
Side of the microphone.
Exactly, out of the side of the microphone. So I really, really appreciate that. And, I pray for a very, calm hurricane season. Yes. But, we'll take what we'll just deal with it as it comes, and we know how to prepare. So hope our residents take note of all of that. So very good. Well, of course, the best ways to find the city is by the city's website, www.port-orange.org, the city's Facebook page, Port Orange City Hall, our Twitter page @City Port Orange, and our LinkedIn page, City of Port Orange. Well, this podcast, The POG Show, can be found on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. This wraps up episode 22 of The POG Show. Until next time. Thank you so much for spending time with me today on The POG Show. We've only just begun, and with you sharing, subscribing, and leaving a 5-star review for this podcast is really going to help launch us to the next level together.